Hello everyone, I am the Wife of Connoisseur, and welcome to my Arknights Endfield Beta Test 2 review video. I will be going over my thoughts on the story, gameplay, factory building, and the gacha before closing this video with some honorable mentions. I will also not be going too depth into these topics, and I will also not be going into any story spoilers. Quick disclaimer before we start. Remember that this is just a beta, and everything is subject to change. This video will also contain a lot of glazing, and if you like this type of video, please like the video. And if you are new to my channel, feel free to subscribe for more Arknights Endfield and regular Arknights glazing content. The first topic we'll be talking about in this video is the story, and I honestly think it's pretty good. It starts off pretty similarly to other gacha games where you follow a amnesiac protagonist called the Administrator, but unlike other gacha games, we are shown why the Administrator is valued so much and is seen as a respectable senior or a good colleague very quickly into the game. I feel like amnesiac protagonists are always used because they want like a self-insert narrative, but it feels like the Administrator, when Hypergriff made a story where we lose our memories but still have people around us that know us, they really show that aspect. And it's not like they just pull stuff out of nowhere and say that, this character knows us, or we know this character, or we did this X and Y. Like later down the line, it's more of just like they quickly establish this is what we've done, this is what we did, and I appreciate that a lot. The only real issue I had with the story was that the tutorials and pop-ups were so abundant, and it kind of quickly interrupted the pacing of the first chapter. Thankfully though, the second chapter had barely any tutorials, and was way better paced than the first chapter. Even though there were tutorials, the pacing itself for the story was good. It's really when you had to do stuff outside of the story that made the pacing not feel as great. I also think Hypergriff did a great job at making a proper introduction to Enfield's story and lore. It felt like the story and lore that was given to the players felt like a good amount. It wasn't like so much lore, so much story related stuff that it was like hard to follow or hard to understand. And I didn't feel the need to be looking stuff up or asking around what this is or what that is. It feels like they properly explained like topics or terms that were brought up to the Administrator in a orderly fashion. And there's also really good world building already in like the first chapter. They're already mentioning things like future places we may go to, future NPCs that may be important to the story later down the line. And it feels like Hypergriff is really showing off their skill at world building that they're known for in regular Arknights. There are also amazingly animated cutscenes within the story that last for a very long time, and it has good voice acting, good animations, and I could really sit back and actually watch like a full cutscene play out without feeling like it was too short. And it felt nice. It was a pretty good cinematic experience. And not only are the cutscenes amazing, but the dialogue segments within the story was also very, very good. They had immersive storytelling aspects such as dynamic camera angles, lip syncing, and a lot of character movement as they were like speaking. It felt good. It felt like when a character was speaking, they made sure to focus the camera on them, or if a character was doing action, they properly made the camera focus on that action. And they never reused like animations between characters most of the time. Like some characters have very unique animations, other characters have effects going on around them, and it was just super enjoyable to watch and actually read through. And with that, we'll move on to talking about the gameplay. I'll be dividing the gameplay section into two parts. One will be me talking about the combat, while the other will be about exploration. Like I said earlier, I will not be going too in-depth about the combat because I want to make dedicated videos on it, so instead I will just mention what I like about it, and then we'll talk about the exploration. One thing I really like about Enfield's combat is how your teammates are always on field with you, and it gives a sense of immersion, and I think it's amazing to be able to use your character abilities while not actually having to swap off your current character, and really continue your basic attack strings or combo off of other characters' abilities, and do things like interrupting enemies' attacks with your abilities, or using finisher attacks after staggering enemies. It's just super satisfying. It's probably one of the most satisfying combat I've seen in a gacha game, and it just feels nice. The exploration at Arknights Endfield is not a true open world experience, like in the sense where you can explore every nook and cranny, climb up mountains, or scale up buildings. It's more like just really big zones that you can explore, which is very similar to games like Monster Hunter World that have like open world-esque designs. But one thing I really like about Arknights Endfield Exploration is that the world is interactable, in the sense that you can place zip lines around the world and use them to traverse from place to place, and the only limit really being the distance between one another and whether they can actually be connected, which I think it adds a layer of progression. It feels very satisfying to go around and fully explore like throughout the world and know where everything is, and then coming back and connecting it with zip lines. And then every single day, when you're doing your daily farming routes, you just have to take your zip lines and just have a very nice time going around the world, collecting your resources. And you essentially save like 20-30 minutes just using your zip line to go around and collect resources. And it's something I appreciate because, I'm not gonna lie, I get very tired of doing like daily farming routes every day for almost like a week or even a couple weeks. It gets very monotonous. And knowing that I can just place down zip lines to collect items I need for my characters, it just makes life feel so much easier. And that, we'll move on and talk about the factory building. The factory building is an integral part of Enfield's design. It will be a huge make or break for most players. The factory building is responsible for how you get shop currency, buffing items, and my favorite thing, and most important thing, the gear. I'll mainly be focusing on gear creation in this video because I feel like this is the most important thing to really glaze about when it comes to Arknights Enfield's factory building. And one of the things that I just heavily dislike in the modern gacha game sphere is how when you want to beat up your characters, you must go through like 20 steps of RNG and worrying about your main stats, substats, set bonuses. While in Arknights Endfield, when you make your factory, progress through the story and level up your world, you will unlock buildings that will start crafting gear parts. And using gear parts, you just have to use a little bit of your currency to make gear. And all of this is free, all this is grindable, craftable. You don't have to use your daily energy on it. Now, with that said, I do have to mention that Arknights Endfield does have one piece of RNG equipment, and that is essences. Essences are things that you can place on your weapons, and they will boost your weapon's abilities. Each weapon comes with a set amount of abilities, whether they increase your character's damage or a special ability, and when you use essences, it will increase those abilities. And currently, essences can come in different varieties, depending on whether you get the correct boost to your weapon's abilities, which it's not too bad, honestly. I feel like compared to other gacha games where you have to min-max and farm up like 5+ gear pieces, and you have to make sure they're the correct set bonuses, correct main stats, sub-stats, it's way less stressful. And from my testing, I also found that essences don't play a huge role into whether your character actually performs well. It really feels like essences is more of just like a way to min-max your characters and get that extra bit of damage that you may want in your character. Now that I got that rant out of the way, we'll move on to the final topic of this video, which are my thoughts on the gacha. Just like how I am saving the combat discussion for a dedicated video, I will also be saving my gacha explanation for a separate video. And will just be saying my opinion for this because I feel like most of you guys have probably heard enough about the gacha system already and don't need a huge dedicated portion on it, at least in this review video. And to put it simply, I think the gacha system in Arknights Endfield is generally pretty good, but it needs some changes to make it even better. The first change I would like to see improved is how we get Arsenal tickets. Arsenal tickets currently can only be gained through pulling characters, leveling up the paid battle pass, and getting lucky in the daily credit shop. You currently cannot exchange Ore Geometry or Oro Barrel to get Arsenal tickets. So it kind of punishes players who get lucky on the character banners and get like their 6-star operator early and find themselves in a situation where you cannot pull on the weapon banner because you don't have enough Arsenal tickets. And also, in this beta, Hypergrip has removed a game mode that was in previous betas that gave Arsenal tickets, and it is unclear whether they will add it back on launch or if it will just be a permanently removed game mode and instead we'll just get something else to give us Arsenal tickets. Another problem that I have with the gacha is the gacha currency acquisition. To me, it feels low after completing the story, and collecting stuff only really nets you about like 10 to 60 Oro Barrel depending on the type of chest you open up. And Hypergrip has already mentioned in the developer note that they are looking at that feedback and thinking about tuning it. And I hope they either just give more Oro Barrel or more Ori Geometry outside of the main quest. And I also hope that Arsenal tickets are something you get with your Oro Barrel, or you get Arsenal tickets from a special event, or they just make the Arsenal ticket game mode come back. And the last thing I want to say is how I'm not the huge fan of the beginner banner giving you a random 6-star. I honestly think beginner banners should just let you straight up pick what 6-star you want and just move about your day. I feel like beginner banners not being a guaranteed pick for a character is just going to increase more people who are rerolling when the game launches, and also reduces the amount of people who will continue playing the game because, let's be honest, when you get a character you don't want in a gacha game, there's a high chance you don't want to keep on playing. So if they just made it so the beginner banner made it so you can pick who you want, and so you can start your game nice, start your account the way you want to start your account, chances are players are probably going to continue playing. Before ending this video, I just want to do some honorable glazing for stuff that I could not talk about in the earlier topics. The first one being how much I like the UI of Endfield. I think Enfield's UI is very clean and has a unique artistic design that is not too confusing. There is a slight learning curve when it comes to learning the UI and which button does what or what icon corresponds to what, but honestly, it takes like a couple hours to really understand which one is which. And I really appreciate how Hypergriff took their own artistic design for their UI instead of doing something super simple and basic. I'm also happy that the character screens and team setup screens have characters emoting and really showing off their abilities or their personalities, while also giving enough space for information that you need. And you probably already heard about it, but I think that the graphics for Endfield are one of the best for the market. The scenery, animations, special effects, they all look amazing without being too intense on your device, which is also a huge plus because optimization is something that's slowly becoming ignored in the gaming industry, especially with Unreal Engine being used more for games. And I think that when it comes to a game that looks super good, it also has to run good on many devices. So seeing Hypergriff choose Unity as their game engine and seeing how they modified it to become this gorgeous piece of art while still making sure it efficiently plays on many devices is something I think we should all praise. And I'm very happy that there's already been gameplay from the beta on people using devices even below the minimum requirement, and it runs pretty smoothly. I've basically glazed all that I wanted to glaze in this quick review video. Like I mentioned before, I am planning on doing more dedicated videos for stuff like combat, gacha, factory building, and really want to give you guys a more in-depth guide for those topics, because I already know I'm going to talk so much in those videos that if I were to try to include it in this video, it would just be too long. Also remember that this is still beta and everything is subject to change, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section below. And remember to like the video if you like the video, subscribe if you are new, and I will see you guys next time.